what's up? We're here at Comic-Con. We are checking out a few games, one of which is Borderlands 2, and we're talking AI today with our friend here, Jasper. Hey, Jasper, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
I'm good. Now, one of the things actually I heard about Borderlands 2, which is impressive to actually some game developer friends of mine, was the AI, is that it's pretty dynamic and there's some interesting tricks going on behind the engine that we're hoping to talk about today, that maybe you could spell it out in layman's terms for us a little bit. Whatever you want to talk about first, go ahead, because you're the genius.
All right, yeah, genius. So basically, I'll start out with that. There's a whole lot of it from Borderlands 1 that's come back in Borderlands 2. All the old favorites, the bandits, the skags, those are back, but they're better than ever. So I think if I could start out with just the bandits. You usually have just the basic marauder and the psycho. Usually they're just kind of crazy, outlands kind of guys. But actually now they do a little bit more. They're a little bit smarter. They'll actually duck and roll and dive and flinch and all this kind of stuff to get away from you and try to outwit you. But they'll also take a better advantage of all the spaces around Borderlands, the different combat areas that our level designers have set up for you guys.
Yeah, something I noticed when watching some of the early gameplay demos is that it seemed like the characters were much more reactionary in terms of getting shot. They would actually touch and pull in different areas, and it seemed like their limbs would be affected in different ways. Does that also affect the AI from the characters getting hit?
Absolutely it does. That was one of our big goals starting out with Borderlands 2, was just being able to have the characters react to the player in much more interesting and dynamic ways. Like shooting them to spot does something different. Getting them injured, and shooting them in the head, makes them actually trudge around and be slower after their health is lower. And actually not just interacting with the player in different ways, like you said, with the shooting and the bullets and all that, but also interacting with each other and the environment as well. So you might actually see, like I said, not only just working together, you actually see some guys actually jump on each other or hang out together or be commanded to go somewhere. So there's a whole lot more, and it's all pretty much all of it's just dynamic. It all happens on the fly. If I see that guy, I want to work with him. I see that guy, let's hop on together and beat the player in these new and interesting ways, depending on the randomness of the combat.
And does that change depending on how many people you're playing with? Especially if you're doing four-player co-op, most difficult setting, does that change one extreme way or the other?
Yes, absolutely. Basically, not only do they get harder and a little bit smarter, but we actually have new enemy types that come out depending on both the number of players and various other factors in the environment, like our second playthrough and things like that.
I remember you had variations where you'd have badass and super badass. Does it go any further than that, or what are the different tiers that you guys are talking about right now?
I don't want to spoil anything, but it's actually something that we try to do is take the combat and have it kind of evolve a little bit in the middle of a combat. So all of a sudden you're shooting, you're hurting, you're killing things, maybe you're on the attack, maybe you're on the defense, but all of a sudden something else comes into the gameplay where things actually become maybe super badass or ultimate badass. Like for instance, we have this new character, the Goliath. He's this big hulking monstrosity that's actually a little bit of mutinous, I guess you'd call it, and he's barely controllable. He has this basically helmet that gives him the tunnel vision that keeps him in line, but you can choose to pop that thing off, and all of a sudden he just loses it and he grows. And then he's not only going to attack you, he's just going to attack the closest thing by. He'll start rampaging, punching things, etc. And as he does this, a really cool part about it is that he can become more badass. He will, if you kill something, he'll level up just like the player does, and just like everything else, where he'll gain XP, he'll gain health, all those things. And when you shoot him and kill him, if you're able to do so, he'll drop some more and better loot. So it's actually a choice that the player can make in the middle of combat when they see this guy. We have this kind of thing all throughout Borderlands.
Been any stories from QA testers or anything where something just happened, or damn, that never happened in Borderlands 1, this happened to me, this was really cool? Are people just gathering around telling their stories of weird stuff that's happening?
Absolutely, all the time. Every time I get to actually hang out with the QA guys and talk to them, talk everything through. Yes, it's always oh, the thing with the stuff. My best example is with the Goliaths. The midgets are back, of course. We love the midgets. They're the best little guys. If you get one of those midgets near one of the Goliaths, they might decide to kind of have the midget jump on top and just start throwing stuff at you, and makes combined for this whole new experience of craziness. Another example is just the Skag. So, like I said, Skags are back, better than ever. In addition to all the variants we had before, we have new ones. And if you remember, we had the badass Skags. So, before they were just bigger and stronger, and we had the elemental types, say the fire and the shock Skags. Well, now they can do more than just be big and menacing. They can actually buff the other Skags in the area. They'll call them to them, and this big, mother roar, and they'll come back and get buffed. And they all do different things depending on the buff. So, for instance, the badass shock Skag, not only will they get more health and everything, and they'll actually turn electric and shock you, and it will hurt more. But they'll also be faster, just like lightning.
One thing I noticed that it seemed to be changing. I'll let you get out of here in a second. I know because I'm going to talk about Borderlands all day. I promise.
I'm okay with that.
Okay, let's do that. So we were watching the 2 gameplay walkthroughs. We saw the one with Axon, and then we saw the one with Zero. We noticed that the end boss, his name changed depending on the character that was playing. Like their names would change. Is that the idea that if I do multiple playthroughs through Borderlands 2, am I going to see different variations of boss? And does that change things like loot or something like that?
Less and less on the bosses, but you will see a whole lot more on each playthrough. So yeah, second playthrough you'll see bigger, badder, and different. Not just from a name change, but you'll actually see different things on them that do different attacks, and like I said, just whole new monsters. Certain monsters just are very rare in the first playthrough. They'll become more prevalent because they're more dangerous and terrible, and that's what the second playthrough is all about. It's the ultimate Vault Hunter mode.
Very cool. It's looking extremely good, and congrats on the new trailer that came out today. That was one of the best trailers so far of the year. I know you didn't make it all yourself, but it's your game, and it looks good.
I loved it too, yeah. I really actually like watching it. All the trailers that we do at our marketing department is really great. All the guys at Gearbox are wonderful, talented.
Yeah, you're a great team, and the game is looking fantastic. When can we look forward to playing with your all-new AI with a couple other buddies online?
It's coming out in North America on September 18th and internationally September 21st.